Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much once again joining me for tea time. Today we have a little bit of fireside, and that is it. Fireside, that smokiness of the lap zone, guys. It's so good, guys. I hope you're joining me with your cup of tea, maybe a cup of coffee. It is late afternoon over here in South Florida. I came back to the studio because I wanted to do a piece about this Elon Musk purchasing Twitter. I talked about it about a week ago, right around that, and I wanted to have this discussion with you a little bit. I was reading some things over on the Wall Street Journal, on CNBC. Everyone is just blowing up talking about it. I just want to get your thoughts on it because I think it's important. It's very important. Just to give you some backstory, I started using Twitter about 12 years ago or so, somewhere around there. And at that time, it was extremely powerful. It was really, really good. You developed relationships. There was a lot of things going on. There was a lot of back and forth that went on. And then all of a sudden, Twitter turned into a broadcast where it was like unilateral, right? Instead of bilateral. It was this just constant barrage of just junk almost, right? Whereas if you had a whole bunch of people that you follow, your stream would just be constantly just looping with just a bunch of crap. And it just took away some of the fun that I remember having and interaction I used to have on Twitter. So we still use it today, but not as much. Now, that's going to change. I'm going to start using Twitter a lot more. Why? Once again, because Elon Musk is purchasing it. So I think that it's a good thing, but I do also see the contrarian side to it, the opposing side saying that it's not really a good thing. And the reason being, let me get into that in just a second. Before I get into that, let me just say that if you haven't downloaded any of my ebooks as of yet, go check them out. Go over to JCristina.com/books. Once again, JCristina.com/books. So the contrarian side over there is saying things like, well, you have Elon Musk that wants to put a chip into people's brains, and now he's going to say that he's going to save the planet basically by just giving free speech to everyone through Twitter. How is that going to be when he's trying to just completely control you with a chip in your head? I don't know. If you've read that story, you know that it had to do with a lot of problems that people were having, and he was trying to solve the problems using neurochips, basically, that would fix problems. You know, he was trying to go into maybe sight, sound, hearing, any type of disability, and fix those disabilities with this type of neural network, but on a chip side. It's a little bit sketchy for me. I don't know if I would ever have a chip put in my head, but I guess if I was really just horribly afflicted with like Lou Gehrig's disease or some type of real, just a serious problem, I would say, well, maybe at that point, put a chip in and maybe I can get my life back. At that point, I don't really care if you track where I am all the time. So I guess there's always a middle ground to everything. And what I found is there's a lot of polarization that happens. A lot of it happens on Twitter, Facebook, here on YouTube, everywhere. There's a lot of polarization. You have people so far on the right, so far on the left. There's very few that are in the middle that are just true thinkers anymore. And I try to be like that, all right? I don't just go just one way or another way. I read everything and try to make up my own mind. And I hope you guys are the same way. Some people will watch this video and be like, oh God, he just said that he liked that, that Elon Musk took over Twitter. I'm just going to shut this off right now because they don't want to hear the whole story or they don't want to hear anything else. But for me, I think that it is very valuable, no matter how you look at it, to be able to kind of converse and have this dialogue between you and I, right? And if you say something that is negative to me, as long as you're not getting extremely vulgar or you're, putting my private information online or something, then of course I'm going to ban you from the channel. But if we're just having this debate back and forth, I think it's fantastic. Many times I learn something when someone debates with me and I find that they're actually right or a portion of what they're saying is right. And at that point I say, you know what? You're right. And I agree with you on this, that, or whatever, but I still don't agree because of this. And I think that is very, very powerful. And Twitter was always like that for many, many years. And all of these social media platforms were like that. And then it just got just worse and worse and worse, to a point where, you know it as well as I do, we can't actually say certain words here, for example, on YouTube. If we say certain words, we get flagged. I know when I go live, all right, and someone's in the chat window and they put in something that might be sensitive, but not to me, but to them, whoever them is, you know what I'm saying? It'll come up and flag it and say, do you really want this to go into the flow of your chat? Yes or no? And then I actually have to make the decision. If not, it just doesn't get in there at all. So I have to read it really close. We're like, yeah, go ahead, let it through. It's crazy, guys. It's just a little bit crazy. Now, I was reading some of these things. I'm going to bring up a couple of quotes because I think it's important. I was reading on the New York Times and a couple other places. And once again, I want to give you this backstory. Now, Elon Musk is buying this company, right? Twitter. For, I believe it's $44 billion. He's paying about $54.20, I think it is, per share. That is 38% more than what it should be, let's say, based on back when he started buying Twitter. So it is a substantial amount of money. And matter of fact, the stock went up like 4, 5, 6% today on the news that he's purchasing the company. Now, this all being said, remember, just a few days ago when I did my last video, they were talking poison pill and all kinds of stuff on a means of stopping him from this hostile takeover of the company. Now, remember, Elon wants to take over the company, but in so doing, ditch all of the board and bring it in private. And then he will be able to reconstruct it to the way he sees fit. Now, is that good? Is it bad? I want to know what your thoughts are on it. I know one of the things that he was talking about when it came to free speech was opening up the algorithm. What is the algorithm behind Twitter? And as of right now, we know that people get banned for just weird shit, and then other people are just allowed to say whatever the hell they want. It's just really weird. So what he wants to do is literally put it open source, the algorithm. So anyone that has half of a sense, let's say, that can do any sort of programming, algorithmic programming, they can look through it and see exactly what is going on with Twitter. What will be flagged, what won't be flagged, and so on and so forth. In other words, opening it up. What he actually said was, quote, I also want to make Twitter better than ever by enhancing the product with new features, making the algorithm, once again, open source, to increase trust, defeating the spam bots, and authenticating all humans. I think that is very powerful. Very, very powerful. Like I said before, there is just a plethora of just crap going through, just on and on. If you go onto your account, like I said, if you have, let's say 100 or 200 followers, is one thing. If you have 400, 500, maybe 1,000 people that you're following and you watch your feed, it's just ongoing. And the problem with that is, once again, spam bots. There is a lot of this churn of information that is just bogus that real humans are not putting out there. They're not typing it. It is just being put out there by these bots continuously. And it's just forever, this feed of just junk. And what happened was, is instead of Twitter being a place where you had this back and forth conversations, you never even see the conversations because the thing just flies by. You can't even read anything at that point, right? So you're having to look at your DMs and to actually answer someone. It's a problem. It is a big problem. So I want to know your thoughts on this whole thing. The deal isn't done. Now, the shareholders did unanimously vote that, yes, they want to sell it to Elon Musk. Fine. But of course, it has to go to the regulatory commission and it has to go all kinds of other stuff to be able to get it fully approved, so to speak. Now, they're saying that it should be approved before the end of this year, and then Elon will take it private and then reconstruct it transform it, as he says, to the way he thinks it should be. So no more poison pill, no more nonsense. Literally within a week, he said, this is my final offer. They said, no, we're going to take this poison pill. He's like, yeah, whatever. A couple of days later, we're not going to take the poison pill. We're going to sell it to you. Now, there was a statement from Brett Taylor. He is the Twitter chairman, and he says basically the board had, quote, conducted a thoughtful and comprehensive process to assess Elon's proposal with a deliberate focus on value, certainty, and financing. The proposed transaction will deliver a substantial cash premium, and we believe it is the best path forward for Twitter's stockholders. I think that was something that I did speak about in my last video. I said, well, the whole poison pill and all this other stuff. The bottom line is the board still has to do what's best for the shareholders, right? If I have stock in Twitter, I want you to be able to conduct yourself in my best interest. So if I can make an extra $1,000, $2,000 by you selling it, I want you to sell it. All right. So, and that's basically what they ended up doing here. They took their ideology off the table and said, what do we think about the numbers? That $54.20. Do we think that that's enough? Are we going to be able to get to that position, that point anytime soon? Bear in mind, guys, Twitter was a failing company. All right. When I say failing, yes, it's massive and it's frequent by the leaders of the world. All right. It is huge. Celebrities, all types of people. But it doesn't make money. It makes next to nothing, if nothing, maybe less than nothing. I don't know. It makes crap. So he did not purchase Twitter to make money. I don't care what he does with it. I don't see it in the future making money unless he completely revamps it and turns it more like a YouTube type of thing where content creators could put stuff out to Twitter and then actually get paid for putting it out there. People are not going to, or as of right now, advertise on Twitter because, once again, it's this barrage of just nonsense. And you don't know who's real, who's fake, who's a bot, what's a real account. And that goes back to what he was saying. We need to authenticate the humans on board here. All right? That is mission critical. It's mission critical to know what stuff is real and what stuff is fake. Number one, but also for advertisers, let's say down the road to say, okay, how many real people do we have available to us to reach out to? Because right now the numbers are so just inflated. Who the hell knows, right? The same thing with Facebook and with Instagram. Twitter is like this big compared to Facebook, for example, or Instagram. I think Twitter has something like 200 million people interacting every day, whereas you have Facebook, Instagram, it's like billions, okay? It's not on the same level at all. So, why would he go after this? I think because the time was right. He probably saw Twitter, number one, not doing so well. He knew that he could probably pick it up at, let's say, cheap in comparison to another company, another social media platform. And he still has a mega platform with it, even though it's not going to make so much money, especially not in the short term. Like I said, maybe he can turn it around and do something with it. But I don't think that's his reason. I think his reason is his convictions when it comes to free speech is just rock solid. He looks at it and says, we put something out that we know is true, let's say, and then it gets taken down because they believe it not to be true. And then only 2 weeks later find out that it was true to begin with. But what I said was taken down. So this type of thing just has to stop. All right. And I think that it needs to stop on all platforms, not just Twitter. We know what happens here on YouTube. We see it all the time on Facebook. There's a lot of people that I know that no longer even frequent Facebook anymore, that have deleted the application, that just don't care. At one time, Facebook was a great place to go and meet your friends, family, colleagues, maybe even a high school or college friend that you haven't seen forever, and you find them on Facebook. That's all great and everything. It's just not being used that way anymore. It is a advertiser's just nightmare or dream. It depends on what side of the fence you're on, right? There's so much advertising going on. There's so much collection of data. When you go on to Facebook, they know exactly what you're doing at all times, who you're talking to, what you're talking about. Every single thing that you say, every single thing that you write is all being translated and put into databases, all right, about you. The same thing with what I'm speaking to you about right now. Everything that I'm speaking is being translated, okay? And then it is being culled through, and the upper echelons is deciding, or the algorithm is deciding if what I'm saying is factual or not factual, or if it is good or bad, or if it needs to be censored or not. And it's happening real time, because you could put CC on, right, closed caption, and you'll be able to read what I'm telling you right now live. And once again, just like I said before with the chat window, they're reading it live because they asked me, do you want me to let this go? And I have to decide, oh, yeah, go ahead, put it into the chat. So it is constant. It is absolutely constant. So my question to you is, do you think that this is a good thing, or do you think it is a bad thing? Because you're going to say what the reason is why you think it is good and what the reason is why do you think it is bad. And people will go back and forth about that. And that is the whole idea of freedom of speech, right, guys? That's the whole idea. To be able to have a debate back and forth and no one gets their panties in a wad. It used to be like that, but as of a few years back, it's not like that anymore. Maybe it'll change. Maybe it won't. I don't know. What are your thoughts? I want to hear from you. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. If you have, please throw it a thumbs up. That would be fantastic. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're not. And if you are, click this little bell icon over here so when I go live or when a new video comes out, you will be notified of it immediately. And finally, head over to my website, JCristina.com, where you can find all the photography tools I've invented for you and me over the years. And hopefully there's something there that you might like. And if there is, please pick it up and support me and my family. That's it, guys. I'm out of here for yet another vlog. Many blessings to you and your family. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you in the next one. Love you all.